Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
And I want to welcome everybody to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. So if you're Black and intelligent, then you are home. If you're not Black and intelligent, this is not the place for you. So anyway, I wanted to ask everybody, first of all, as you come in, please shout out your city, shout out with your business. If you have a Black-owned business, everybody should be a business owner or trying to be. And also, please greet Dr. Claud Anderson when you come in. Dr. Claud Anderson is the author of the books Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, The Black History Reader, and Dirty Little Secrets 1 and 2. And I want to ask you guys, as you greet Dr. Anderson, I want to ask Dr. Anderson himself, how you doing today, sir?
Oh, I'm Black and proud. Okay.
Say it loud. All right. So let me ask you this, Dr. Anderson. We last night on Black Movie Night, because I don't know if I told you about Black Movie Night.
Yeah, you did.
We're building a film industry. We're really doing it, getting it done. Hundreds of thousands of people are supporting it. We're raising money, all these things. And last night, what we did was instead of just showing a movie, sorry, give me a second. Let me turn this off. Okay, instead of seeing a movie, we watched Malcolm X's speech, The Ballot or the Bullet. And I felt like that would be an important thing to do to educate ourselves in the community, because we're taking over Black education. This is during this pandemic, everybody's got their kids at home. So I've been telling everybody, take over the education of your kids. I want to be a part of it. I want to help you educate your family. So they come in for educational reasons. So I said, the first piece of education we need to get is from people like yourself. And also we watched The Ballot or the Bullet speech, where Malcolm X talked about a lot of things you don't really hear about anymore, where he actually was saying that he trusts the Democrats less than he even trusted the Republicans. And he also talked about Black folks not getting nothing for their vote and what it means to take control of your communities and a lot of the things that you talk about. So I'd like to get your take on that. You were very present during the era of Malcolm X and when he gave the Ballot of the Bullet speech and everything else. What is your take on this, just as an expert in terms of what Malcolm was saying and the messages of that time?
Well, Malcolm was right on point, dead on point. And that's why I had so much respect for him during the 1960s, that point in time, because we had a choice between Malcolm on the right and Martin Luther King on the left. And what most people don't know, especially the younger people, that Malcolm was much more receptive to the era of doing something specifically solely for Black folk than Martin was. Martin was off into universality. He wasn't that concerned. He was talking all this mumble jumble about let's be concerned about all people. And that's I talked about this on your previous show, and I talked about, as I said, about the 4 horses of the apocalypse. Malcolm was the first horse, the white horse that came in, and which signified a spirit of religious indoctrination. And so he was speaking more from a biblical standpoint. And we were very proud of him because he had a lot of backbone and balls and trying to help Black folk, but only incidentally, because he wanted to spread everything, and by including everybody, inclusivity, including everybody and anything. Malcolm was pretty much concerned about doing something for Black folk, and that's why I respected Malcolm. And that's why most of his indoctrination, even though I must confess, he put out a book, but I never read his book, and as I said, only came to Detroit, Michigan in 1963, and at the same time that I was raising Cain, about the fact that Detroit, that for the first time, Blacks became the majority population in Detroit, Michigan. That was the first time they'd become the majority population, but most of the whites were moving out of Detroit into the suburbs and under urban renewal, and they were vacating the city and just dropping it. But when they vacated, they were practicing the principle of scorched earth, which means we're going to leave Detroit, but we're going to take everything, we're going to destroy everything that we can't take out of the city and build a new thing called suburbs. So no such thing as suburbs at that point in time when Malcolm was coming there. We didn't have any suburbs. Suburbs were just beginning. It was an idea of white folks' mind. And what whites wanted to do was extract everything out of the city of Detroit and move it to across 8 Mile Road. Because 8 Mile Road was the limit of the city. And before that, everybody was confined to between the river and the 8 Mile Road. And they were moving, building suburbs. They would move the businesses, the industries, the factories, the jobs, the employment, the wealth, the voting power, everything into the suburbs and strip the city down to nothing. But at the same time, Malcolm was there. Martin Luther was planning this march in Detroit, Michigan, to march from Jefferson Boulevard all the way down to Woodward until Wayne State University's campus. And the funny thing about that is that the press was very concerned about that because Malcolm was saying, let's take Detroit and build Detroit and do something for black folk. And Martin was talking about, integration and at that time. And so the press went to Martin and asked him, so what do you think about this march that Martin Luther King is planning coming down Woodward to Wayne State University? And what do you think about that idea? Is that a good idea? What do you think of it? And they asked Malcolm. Malcolm says, what march? So if you don't know about the march, you know what march? They said, well, Martin Luther King's gonna march down Woodward from Jefferson Avenue all the way down to Wayne State University and march because he wants to go out and integrate the suburbs. But when whites move to the suburbs, Malcolm wants, but blacks also be able to go to suburbs. And so Malcolm says, well, that's not a march. But people say, yes, it is a march. It's a march with Martin Luther King and all his followers coming down Woodward. So Malcolm says, that's not a march, that's a parade. And saying, like any good parade, you got a bunch of clowns out front leading it. So at that point, I said, that's my man. That's my man. Malcolm will be my man. Because Malcolm summarized a lot of my thinking at that time because I wanted blacks to have their own city. At that point in time, with 51% of the population, blacks could have taken over the whole city. The problem that they had, why Detroit failed, was that white folk killed the city by stripping it of all the resources and hauling all the resources to the suburbs, and then taking the power to Lansing, to the state capital, to make sure that anytime black folk wanted to do anything inside Detroit, that they needed political power to do it, they would deny it. And that's what kept Detroit down from the 1960s up until now. White man Dugan has taken it over again, and now it's back in the hands of whites because they said, well, black folk destroyed the city. No, the black folk didn't destroy the city. Whites destroyed the city when they moved to the suburbs and took all the resources out. And so black folk could not do anything because whites in the suburbs were still controlling Detroit. And Malcolm has said before, try to hold and control all the land and resources you could. So I respected Malcolm for that.
Everybody who just came in, I'm speaking with Dr. Claud Anderson. Dr. Anderson is the author of the books Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, The Black History Reader, and Dirty Little Secrets 1 and 2. Do me a favor, everybody. If you just came in, take a second, please hit that thumbs up button. And also, please greet Dr. Anderson as you come in and let him know how much we appreciate him. And I want to mention this too. I told you I want to mention this on the air when you and I were talking kind of backstage, so to speak, is one of the biggest things that I know a lot of people want is, and this is why I was excited to have this conversation. I was traveling, so we couldn't do it, but I was really looking forward to it, is right now people need guidance. The country, not just the country needs leadership. Like Trump is not providing good leadership for the country, but we also need leadership in our community. And we need strong leadership. We need clear, firm leadership. And so America is going through this unprecedented time where, or it appears unprecedented. Maybe you can let us know what it makes you think about. But this time where you got so many corporations coming out saying they want to give hundreds of millions of dollars to black causes. They want to do, they're going around doing black fist, symbols and, saying that they really want to make things right with black folks. And maybe we've heard these things before. But one of the things that let me know that maybe we weren't getting something new is when I saw people like Al Sharpton at the kind of the forefront of the conversation. No disrespect to Sharpton, but I'm kind of not interested in hearing from folks that have misled us in the past. And one of the things I said was that if we're going to have real conversations about making things right with Black folks, one of the measuring sticks for me of how serious it is do they have serious people at the table? And I know you're a serious person. I know you've been watching what's been going on, and I'd like to get your take on it, Dr. Anderson. You know, in general, in terms of you know, what's going on with George Floyd, what's going on with these global worldwide protests, what's going on with these corporations, you know, saying they want to make right with Black folks. What are your thoughts? What are you seeing when you're looking at the world right now, and what's going through your mind, you know, just as an expert on Black history and economics and all the things that we need to understand right now? What are you thinking about?
Well, right now, when I look at the TV and watch all that movement by what's it called, Black Lives Matter, it reminds me so much of what's happened so many times in the past. It happened in the 1860s after the Civil War, and it began to happen again at the end of World War II, when Black folks started moving away from Blackness. And so in 1935, 36, they started talking about, instead of talking about Black issues, the Black ministers, the Black civil rights organizations, and the Black newspaper says, get away from Blackness, stop talking about Blackness, and started talking about universality. And so after late 1930s and moving into the 1940s, Black folk adopted that philosophy, saying, we're going to go for universality. Universality means social integration. That's what that was. Go for social integration so we can get along with everybody, try and make ourselves acceptable to everybody. And so, and therefore, so by the time Martin Luther King came aboard, and also in the Black civil rights movement, that's what killed the Black civil rights movement. All of a sudden, all these people came together to try to because of the mistreatment of Blacks in the South, and they started but the Black leadership was basically, some of them were just totally incompetent, and others were politically naive. They want to talk about universality. So when I look at what's happening right now in the streets, it reminds me so much, because the issues that they're focusing on, again, are very broad and ambiguous issues. They're not focused. They use the title Black Lives Matter, but the issues they're talking about is just too damn broad. And even though I compliment them and I appreciate them and I respect them, and I'm glad they're out there raising Cain, but by the same token, they're not on task. They're not on point, and that's the frightening point. Just like in the civil rights movement, I just wrote down just this morning a few points what they're pushing. They're pushing things that they want to push: gender issues. They're pushing poverty issues. They're pushing talking about people of color. They're talking about, for instance, they want police brutality now become police reform, and what they want is again, an ambiguous issue. What is police reform? Give me a pound of that. How do you measure? What is police reform? What are you going to do? And that is so significant that it'd be specifically applicable to Black people. Why would police reform be so applicable to Black folk? Then they said, well, we're going to focus on another thing is racial equality. And I said, what is racial equality? How do you measure that? See, again, they get into all these very broad and ambiguous issues. They're not very focused and very specific. Police reform and all this kind of stuff. And they said, well, we'll change police reform. We're going to eradicate and eliminate the police budget and get rid of the police officers and come up with a new organization, which we'll call public safety organization. What in the world is that? I mean, how does that relate to Black folk? When the real issue goes back to the Constitution, to the Second Amendment. That's where the real police thing. The first police in the nation came out of slavery, and they had plantation police. They actually had badges. They called them paddy rollers. Those are the people that walked the streets and paroled the streets, and had authority to whip Black folks' ass the time they caught them off without authority off a plantation, and didn't have white permission to be moving around in the streets, or chase them down and arrest them, and they could kill them and lynch them and do whatever they wanted to. They were called plantation police. That started in South Carolina and spread all over the country. And so the issue is, as long as you got the Second Amendment that authorized every white person to belong to the what's called the paddy rollers, which means every white person, every white man between 18 and 45 was mandated to join a paddy roller, which y'all now call National Guard, to join those. And that's where that came from, the National Guard that Trump is calling out. He's called out National Guard by in the states because that came out of the Constitution, out of the Second Amendment. It says we got to have somebody out here. Now, what was the purpose of that, of those patty rollers in the 13th and the Second Amendment? It was to whip black folks' ass and catch them in violation of anything and do anything they wanted to them. And then the white folks, again, at the same time, they set the Second Amendment for that every white person could carry a gun, had to carry a gun when he joined the patty rollers, and then to watch the streets for black folk. And but black folk on the same token could not carry a weapon under any circumstance. They couldn't carry a knife, a club, a hatchet, or a gun. And so that's why and people say they should be going back to the major point of why they're catching black folk. And so then the patty roller could do anything he wanted with a black person, kill him and lynch him. Nowadays, they still do this thing. The white police can do anything they want. And I go down and check Tennessee and found they may have shot 16 blacks within about 2 or 3 year period. The police have and beaten blacks. I mean, that's nothing unusual. That's embedded in the Constitution. But when did they go back to the Constitution? We got to change this Constitution, because right now, fixed in the white man's mind, he can do what he wants to do, and that's what those southern states are counting on controlling blacks. They anticipate and trying to trigger a race riot in America. And in the street, they're going to react to all those blacks in the street with a race riot, and that's what they want. That's why whites right now got about, I guess in the country, we got about 367 million rifles and handguns. Now, who owns those 367 million handguns? Who's manufacturing them? Who's selling them? And who's having rifle clubs and gun clubs to practice on? It's only whites. And so now how are you going to change that mindset and that physical set that they got the weapons? They want a race war to get rid of black folk. They're manufacturing. They got all the gun clubs of blacks. What are they going to do, Dr. Watkins? How is talking about eradicating the police today? How's that going to affect black folk? And the Constitution authorizes it and mandates that every state must have a National Guard. And that's what Trump is depending on. That's what Trump said. He's going to mandate that every state bring them out. Now there's a disconnect, but who's trying to connect these points? When Trump says, I'll use a federal troop, I would mandate every governor to call out his National Guard. The National Guard was put in place to whip black folks' ass to kill them. That came out and authorized in the Constitution. That's why right now all across the country, whites own gun clubs. They're manufacturing guns, rifles, and in preparation of a race war. And that's, as I said, when I talked about those 4 horses of the apocalypse, the last horse is called the pale horse. The pale horse right now is Donald Trump. That's why, why do you think Donald Trump is running around right now? He's wearing orange makeup all the time. He is a pale horse. He's a pale horse that the Bible talked about. And you see, people are not connecting the dots. Trump keeps telling you what his goal is. His goal is, he told you in MAGA, Make America Great Again. Black folk, if they've been reading my books and stuff, they would know by now that MAGA, what it stands for. And that's taken out of the Bible. That's why Trump sees himself as either being a Manchurian candidate or being Antichrist. MAGA means Make America Great Again. Trump knows that there's only two times in the history of this nation that America was made great. And guess what? It was doing slavery and doing Jim Crow semi-slavery. That's the only time. You can't America. There's no other time America has ever been great except when they were enslaving blacks and they had them in Jim Crow semi-slavery. That's the only time. So now you're in the streets marching about Black Lives Matter. You haven't confronted the issue with the guns. Now, you haven't confronted the fact that he's trying to make America great. That's what it means. You can't, and that's why all the redneck states, the southern states are supporting him. They know what MAGA means. They know that it means Make America Great Again, put blacks in a sub-state. And those are the red states. And let me go a little further point. They're talking about right now in marching in the streets saying, we're going to demand that you remove all the Confederate statues. Hell, leave the damn statues alone. Quit trying to take down the Confederate statues. What are you taking those down for? They say, well, they signify slavery. Yes, they do. But you should flip the switch and use it. In other words, leave those damn statues alone. Leave them alone. And what you do, and use and point to them and hang signs on them if you want to, saying these are the first terrorists in America. The first terrorists was the base of Trump's support across this nation. The Southern Confederacy is his base, that 25% base that you all keep hearing he's got. Everybody pretends they don't know what that means. He's dependent on those redneck states. That's why those states on the map are red. That's why his hat is red. That's why MAGA is about slavery. And so I get this. So you ask me what I think. I'll try to connect the dots on these things. And I know what Trump is up to. That's what his game is. Right now, Trump knows that if he's going to make America great again, he has to win. And if he doesn't win this election, you know what? That means he's going to wind up losing everything he owns. All those golf courses, all those hotels are going to disappear in this country, around the world, if he doesn't win that election. Because Trump's going to have to go to jail. Trump's going to go bankrupt, and he's going to go to jail if he doesn't win the election. And so he's right to talking about, I want 20% of the black vote. You might as well vote for me because you ain't never going to get anything from anybody else. And I'm not basically going to do a damn thing for you. He's out there on the television yesterday, right in the midst of the damn march, saying, I've done more for black folk than anybody. Which black jumped up out of the movement off the street and say, okay, Mr. Trump, we're out in the street saying make America great again, or Black Lives Matter. If Black Lives Matter, tell us, Mr. Trump, tell us specifically, what have you done for black folk? Ask him. Nobody's ever asked him. He makes those statements and get away with it. So when you start talking about Black Lives Matter, I'm at a loss. And because the issue they should be raised, they haven't talked about. They should be talking about, let me tell you 3 or 4 points that I'll close my mouth and let you have your show.
No, it's your show right now. It's your show right now, so don't you worry about me.
Okay. Well, the first thing they should be doing, they should say, first of all, if you're going to do a damn thing, now I got too much into the specifics. Let me give you some broad categories. You should say, we ain't going to do anything in this country. Do it, and this whole movement in the streets, in that even though whites are joining it, we don't want it to be a replication of what happened in the civil rights movement. They came in, and the Kennedys invited whites to join the movement, to dilute it and water it down so it wouldn't be too black in the civil rights movement. He had all the unions to come in. He had all the universities to send white kids into it. He invited all the women to join. He invited gays and everybody else. They watered down the civil rights movement in the 1960s. That's why it was a failure. That's why civil rights died in this country, because they watered it down and brought everybody in. They're going to do the same thing with this march, okay? But let me go back to things I would say. If you're serious about doing something in this country, the first thing and only thing you should do is go back to the original point of what put blacks into a bad class. Right now, blacks are a permanent underclass. Why are you talking about racial inequality unless you go back to the beginning? Now, where did racial inequality come from? It came from the fact, what my first book told you, black labor, white wealth, that the whole point of slavery, that's where they should start. They should start with, what was the purpose of slavery? Forget about all this other stuff they're talking about in the street, about brutality and police reform and racial equality. Forget that crap. What was the purpose of slavery? The whole purpose of slavery was the whole blacks in chain, as a chain bonded labor, and then to maldistribute 100% of all the land in this country, land, wealth, income, businesses, minerals, rights, privileges, and controls of all levels of government into the hands of the dominant white society. That was the purpose of slavery. That was the whole purpose. Now, when that was done, what have anybody changed? What are you marching about if you haven't changed the damn thing? And that's why, right, like wealth. Wealth was one of the first things. Wealth controls your opportunities in this country, not civil rights and social integration. Who has ever changed the first thing they maldistribute was wealth? Blacks got 1/2 of 1%, and whites got 99% to kick your ass anytime they want them. And wealth controls the politics. That's why Soros and these other multi-billionaires are sponsoring the Black Lives Matter. They got the damn money. That's what you should be focusing on. Why don't you go back and redistribute some of that wealth back into the hands of black folks, so black folk won't have to go into the streets? They won't have to burn down your stores and your buildings because they have their own buildings. They won't be there in the first place. They would not be giving you their money. They got a $1.3 trillion worth of disposable income every year. They'll keep it in their own neighborhood with their own people. So I go on, but that's the first thing. Go back to the purpose of slavery and deal with that. Focus on that and nothing else. Forget all the other crap you're talking about police brutality. Once you do that, I'll tell you about my 5-story building. You got the wealth. You can control the police department. That's on the 2nd floor. But so the second, third thing, go back to the whole point of the civil rights movement that they had in the 1960s, which again, they diluted, started bringing in all these immigrants to make sure blacks became the permanent underclass in the society. Blacks are the original minorities. And they're a permanent minority in a society where the majority will win, the minority will lose. But they forget that the Federalist Society that wrote up the Constitution said this, that if you're going to practice a majority win society against a minority, and you don't adhere to taking care of the minorities' rights and privileges, then the minority does not have any obligation to be bound by any damn thing you do. That means if you got police force that those the blacks in this country, since they've been bound to be the only damn permanent minority, they can ignore all these damn laws. They can say, forget you on every damn thing, because the Federalist Papers, Federalist Paper number 10, so you want to find out. Number 10, the Federalist Papers number 10, that was written by Madison, James Madison, that wrote the damn Constitution. He said you're going to have a democracy where people, the majority will win, and whites are going to make themselves the permanent majority always, and blacks the permanent minority. Then the damn minority that loses doesn't have to get by a damn thing you say. I can go on and on, but I've been talking too long. Let me let you in on it.
Well, I love that, and I think it's really good. And everybody who just came in, I want to say hello to everybody on Instagram. Our Instagram is The Real Voice Watkins, so follow us on Instagram at The Real Voice Watkins, or you can also follow the Black Financial Channel. We're building a Black-owned financial news and commentary platform. We're almost at 100,000 subscribers. So join us at theblackfinancialchannel.com, and also the Black Business School is almost at 100,000 also. So we're really trying to change the world, on a shoestring budget. So we appreciate your support. Also, speaking of that, I want to mention those of you who made donations in the chat. Thank you, Elizabeth and Lastly. More melanin, please. I always see you in here, and I love you, and I appreciate your consistent support. Dante Davis, thank you. Tim Mitchell, thank you. Abiku Smith, thank you, thank you, thank you. And also, please hit the thumbs up button. If you haven't hit the thumbs up button, please do that right now, and put your hashtag B1 in the chat. B1 means that you are Black first. You could be gay or straight, but you're Black first. Educated or uneducated, you're Black first. Young or old, you're Black first. Male or female, you're Black first. Hashtag B1 in the chat to let us know that you are in alignment with this philosophy. This is very important for us to get on the same page. Leave your BS to the side. Come in here, and when you come in here, you're Black. I don't care where you come from or what your background is. You're Black first. Republican, Democrat, you're Black first. That way we can get on the same page. So the last thing I want to mention too, Dr. Claud Anderson's site is powernomics.com. That's powernomics.com. A lot of you have had your kids at home for months and months. We're taking over the educational system right now. We're taking it over. So I want you to consciously take over that process, right? Take over in the chat. Take over means have your kids read books like Powernomics, have them read books like Black Labor, White Wealth, have them read books like the Black History Reader, have them read Dr. Anderson's books in alignment with all the other books that you want them to read. This is your big opportunity. So go ahead and make sure you do that. The website is powernomics.com. So Dr. Anderson, let me ask you this question.
Before you leave that point, let me say this. They can get those books, all 5 of the books, for $99, and we'll get them to them within a couple of days. But right now, it might take tell them it might take a little longer, because you know what has happened. I didn't tell you this. We've had such a groundswell of over the Powernomics Corporation of sales. Black folk have been buying those books like hotcakes, and now,
really?
yeah, coming from your promotions have been the majority force that we've used over there, and so many damn books that we are drowning in orders. So it might, where normally the books would go out to them about 2 days, coming out that we won't be able to start sending out any books over there anymore, because we're out of books until about Tuesday. But we started getting them to them, but we've been thousands, and books are just pouring in like crazy. I said, damn, my people will come through in a bad moment. But if they read those books, I guarantee they'll understand all this stuff. They don't have to do what I told them to do, but at least I want them to understand and connect the dots on what's going on in the streets, with what's behind it, and so it makes some sense, and look at the cause and not the symptoms. And right now, even though I respect and I appreciate the Black Lives Matter group, and I'm proud of them getting out in the street, and moving, doing something, but they're focusing on symptoms and ceremonial issues, symbolic issues, rather than the causes of what our dilemma. There's a cause by why whites keep killing blacks. During slavery, up until the 1950s, they were still lynching one black man per day, and the police was behind all that stuff. In their time in cities where they killed sometimes 600 or 700 blacks at one time, and so they have to understand all this stuff and why. And if the Constitution right now authorizes them to do it, you haven't changed the Constitution. You don't know there are two constitutions. The second Constitution is the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, and the civil rights laws. And they neutralized those when they brought all these crowds and groups into it, so that they won't pertain to black folk. Now the civil rights laws pertain to everybody. Everybody. That's wrong. Those civil rights laws, the 13th, the 14th, and 15th Amendment to the Constitution, and the civil rights laws and the second Constitution is supposed to be strictly and solely for black folk. You wouldn't have they would be walking in the street. They would go in there and say, hey, right, and then from now on, we're demanding that you do this strictly for black folk. And that next time we talk, and I can tell you about what they should be doing, immigration and get gender issues and all these kind of things. I don't want to say it now because we got so many hijacking blacks in our race. As soon as I say something, they'll go out and hijack and use the language and the concepts and the terms, but would never mention my name. I got a line of a mile long. But in conclusion, I do have some very strong blacks have been calling me though that says, Dr. Anderson, we support you. I said, like whom? I've had Puff Daddy call. You know him, don't you?
Yeah, I think they call him Diddy now. But is that his name now, Diddy, or is it something else? He changed his name about once every 5 years. Go ahead.
He told me to call him John, so I personally said, man, he sent me some bottle of liquor and vodka and all that stuff. He has a vodka. But anyway, I got Bo Diddy and then not Bo Diddy, but John Peep. They call him. I get confused on the names. Anyway, he calls also recently. You know us. You know what Usher, don't you?
Usher? Yeah, the singer Usher. Yeah.
Yeah, the singer. He's called me now. He's very supportive of the Powernomics along with Diddy. And I got Wesley Snipes. I got Laura Hill. I got a whole bunch of black celebrities now that are very, very concerned, saying, Dr. Anderson, we totally support you. Charlemagne, Charlemagne. That's one of your friends. Yeah, Charlemagne. Tiffany Haddish, another actress. So all of them saying, Doctor, we totally agree with you. But unfortunately, I don't say a lot anymore because they steal stuff from me, and other groups that steal never give me credit. You see them on the TV every day taking my ideas and information I've given them. They never say it's, and that hurts me because I want blacks to come together as a group. What they do is put themselves in the leadership roles and try to take their ideas and run off down the hill someplace with it and hide with something I've said, which confuses blacks and divide blacks again. That's why I'm always reluctant to tell you what I would do. I'm just giving some broad things now, what I think the issue should be. But all the things I'm saying to you are in my books. That's why I want my love for black folk should be focused towards the books. Read the books and get the information for yourself. Don't let any talking head, black talking head that shows up on TV today or any day, if he's been on there more than one time in a year, run from him. Don't, never listen to a damn thing he says. And particularly started using the word about African Americans, all that. You're not, people I'm fighting for are not African Americans, they're native blacks, the direct descendants of slaves. 99%, Dr. Watson, of all the black people in America are the direct descendants of slaves, which means they were here before 99% of all the other people arrived. For any Asians, or for any Latinos, before any Europeans, those black descendants of slaves, I call native blacks, were here before any of those people arrived. Point one. And point two, they're the most patriotic people. They're the only people that's participated in every war for this country and whose mother country never fought this country. Those are two very unique points you need to mention when you get a chance. Always tell them that. You're a special, exceptional people. Don't let these people get you in these groups, these wild groups where you're trying to get along with everybody. You don't have to get along with them. They need to get along with you. And so they can kill off the biggest lie that's ever been told in the history of this nation. Here's the biggest lie that's ever been told, is that all people in this country has contributed equally to the development of this country. That is a lie. The backbone of this country was blacks were the social economic engine that drove this country and developed this country. That's what made this country great. That's what that MAGA on that hat, on what Trump's hat means. You Negroes developed this country. You drove this country. You're the one that picked the cotton, the rice, the indigo. You're the one that cleared the land. You're the one that put the barrels and the rocks and the stone and the trees. You're the one that built the bridges. You're the one that built the big buildings. You did everything. Do it again and make us great again. And I'm sorry I got these water-legged black folk in some of these civil rights organizations and some of these schools who supposed to be teaching history, but they always teach African history. They know African history in the United States. Nobody's messing over Africans. They're messing over these black folk in this country. Now, I'm preaching to you. Let me go back to your point, but I just want to say those things to you.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I want to say thank you to Tim O and Jahid Mahdi for your donations. Tim says it's time to change the dynamic. I agree with you. And also Jahid brings Jihad Mahdi brings up a good point about the Black Lives Matter movement in general. At the Black Lives Matter website, when you go look up blacklivesmatter.com, I see a statement where they do speak extensively, particularly about the mistreatment of black folks by the police. That's the main thing. I didn't see a whole lot about wealth gaps or nothing like that. But then also I see a real strong statement about LGBT, undocumented immigrants, issues related to sexism, things like that. And so I really see, here's what I've concluded about Black Lives Matter, particularly given that it's funded by a white guy, is that Black Lives Matter is pretty much like the black wing of the Democratic Party. Like that's what it basically, it's like, okay, let's take the Democratic Party concepts and let's make them black so we can appeal to this group. Almost like when you have Google has the president of Google China, right? It means you're taking Google, you're going to make it a little Chinese, but you're trying to get into the Chinese market. Or KFC has an office or a few stores in Saudi Arabia. So you have KFC Saudi Arabia, but it's still KFC. At the core, it's KFC. At the core, it's Google. But what you've done is you shifted a little bit to try to infiltrate into a new market. So that's what I see with Black Lives Matter. They're basically, it's just them saying, okay, we want you to be Democrats. We want you to be part of our agenda, which consists of a lot of LGBT issues and immigration and a lot of other stuff. And so what we're doing is we're just going to kind of blacken it, put black people at the forefront of it, but we're really driving the engine behind it. You guys give me a yes or no in the chat if you agree. And Dr. Anderson, I'd like to get your take on that. What do you think about that?
Well, they've done that always through history. They always put blacks out front. Every group puts black folk out front to take, so they get the bill, not the thrill, and everybody else, and whatever they get achieved, that is spread among everybody. See, you don't see an American Indians coming off the reservations, taking ass whippings. No, you don't see the police beating up American Indians. They're not beating up Asians. They're not beating up gays. They're not beating up white women. They're not beating up Jews. They beat up black people. They put black folk out front. Because there's an old rule in politics that says the willingness ass will carry the heaviest load. And they always use blacks to be their willingness ass and put them out front to create a revolution or movement in the street, and everybody else follow behind them so that negative stuff comes to black folk, not to the other groups, but to black folk. And then, yes, you might in that group, you'll find some Asians in there, and you might in the Black Lives Matter, you'll find some Hispanics. But the negativity is gonna go to black folk. Right now, in Slippery Rock, or Lick Skillet, Mississippi, or Two Egg, Alabama, they're gonna see the Black Lives Matter as something about black folk. So when there's a backlash or pushback, they can go straight at black folk. Now they're not gonna get these other groups. They're not gonna move. You're gonna have some Jews in the crowd. They're gonna bother Jews. Black folk gonna take their ass whippings because they're the willingness ass. And see, I keep saying to black folk, go strictly. When you get into politics, you go into politics, you don't use a shotgun, use a rifle. But I mean you go straight to your point. You need a single point, not trying to go in and trying to solve everybody's problems, not going and carrying the issues for white women, joining the meme movement and all that kind of stuff. That is no implication for black folk. Black folk need to confine themselves, saying we've been embedded at the lowest level of a real life monopoly came. We are a permanent underclass, as was given to you in the United States Department of Commerce told this country in the 2010 census that showed up, and when it was finished in 2014, that black folk are at the bottom of everything. Everything. Anybody in this country, even the new immigrants coming here, got 2 or 3 times the amount of money that black folk have, and black folk been here for 460 years. They're the wilderness ass. That's why they keep paying a penalty. So what I say is you got to focus what you're doing. And you're talking about police brutality. I've told them before, under my Powernomics, 5-story building. And then the first floor, you build those communities and build that economy and get the wealth and power you need. Then you control politics. You cannot control politics messing around, walking in the streets. What controls politics is the wealth of the nation, whoever got the money. There's an old thing saying you learn in the 3rd grade or 2nd grade in school, that they call it golden rule. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
What's the golden rule, Doc?
Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you.
All right, whoever has the gold rules, that's what it is.
Oh, that one. Oh, that golden rule. That one too.
Yeah, yes. Whoever has the gold rule. See, and I tell you, and right now, if you build my 5-story building, you build the economy like I keep telling blacks. Build an economy, then build you a community, and inside that community, put you an economy in there that can produce and have factories and businesses that can produce the products, the service, the goods, the jobs, put the jobs for you, a tax base, and everything inside your own community. You don't have to go out asking white folk to give you a job. You produce jobs for yourself. I want these organizations like the Urban League, quit trying to prepare black folk to get a job. Prepare black folk instead to produce jobs. I want black folk to be independent, self-sufficient, and reliant and competitive in this society. And you get that by looking at my 5-story building. Once we get these economies, we can control the police. We can control the police. We have to beg white folk to control their police. And you should be asking yourself, why is it every place you go that in a police department in any city, that the majority of policemen, whether it's in a black community or white community, the majority of the police are going to be white. There's no way on earth that a white community will allow black folk to have the majority police department all black. So we're doing everything backwards. But anyway, I know you're holding something you want to show me. Go ahead.
I was holding up your book because I want to ask you, can you, just for everybody watching, can you give them the 5 stories in the 5-story building for Black Power so that we kind of walk away understanding what steps we should take so that when they say, well, what do you want? We can all be on the same page and have a good answer for that. What's the 5 stories of the 5-story building, Dr. Anderson?
Okay, I'll give you that because I got another little smaller book coming out pretty soon. It's called, it's focused strictly on the 5-story building. It's Claud Anderson's Powernomics 5-story building. They build this 5-story building I'm telling you about. Nobody can whip them anymore, beat up on them anymore. They can end racism. And see, right now, Dr. Watkins, 99% of all the blacks in the country, 99% of the whites in the country don't even understand what racism is. They don't have. I've offered many times $500. Somebody tell me what racism is. 99% don't know what it is. They think it's something about liking whether or not you get along with somebody, whether or not a white person is your friend, or an Italian or an Asian or a Chinaman is your friend. That's not racism. Racism, again, is strictly a relationship, competitive relationship between whites and blacks. It came out of slavery in 1859 when the whole race started. There was no one time we didn't even use the word race. The word race didn't even exist until 1488. There's no such word as RACE in dialogue. Nobody used that word. People, what they used in those days before up to that point in time, they used the word tribalism, religious, that people were fought because of tribes, religion, and war. There was no such word for race. Race didn't exist until Pope Innocent introduced it in 1488, RACE. And he said at that point in time, he started using that because he had some black slaves that were given to him in 1445 and 1455, in that 10-year period. When the Vatican had slaves, they used them. He says, use these people And they started using, and they said, and these people be good, hard workers and slavery. That was the beginning of slavery. And after that, after 1488, all 9 European nations got into a race after Columbus discovered the Western world to say, let's go take that land. Let's take that land and develop it. And that was why, and that's when the contest started. RACE. RACE is a race. A race. A race is a contest. When you go to the Kentucky Derby, a race is horses are racing. It's a contest. You go to an automobile race. You go to a bicycle race. You go to a foot race. Race is a contest where people are competing. That's where it came from. Those 9 European nations decided to compete, to come to the Western world, Northern America, Central America, South America, and try to get the land and develop it. There was a contest, but what they needed was labor, because the European continent was dying, overrun with crime, diseases, famine, food shortages. So all those countries, France, England, Germany, Russia, all of them got black folk because the Arabs were the big slave holders. They were selling black folk to all those countries. And all of them got blacks and said, we're gonna all use blacks to try to and develop that land. And so in the early 1500s, that's where racism came. The race was over when they started by that time that they developed. I mean, capitalism started, not racism. Capitalism started. Capitalism means owning the land, the tools, the resources, and use it and materials to develop money and enrichment and at yourself. It's using other things or tools for you. That's what capitalism means, owning the land, the tools, the resources, then enrich yourself from other people's labor. That's capitalism. That's when capitalism started about 1503. I look like I'm confused here, but that's what I'm saying. That's when capitalism started. When they were going to use black labor to develop all that land, and after Pope Innocent has said use those black folk as labor, that and all of them got in a contest. Everybody wanted to have some slaves. Spain, Portugal, running all around in the South America and Central America using blacks for labor. And so you have to understand the capitalism. And so what I'm saying to you was that black folk then were labor, and they were the people that generated the wealth of this country. There was no Hispanics. They weren't enslaving Indians. They enslaved black people for 360 years. And they owe black folks. Go back to your question you asked about Bob Johnson. Yes, there's an indebtedness that has to be paid to black people, not to anybody else. And yet I got one black sitting in the Congress right now in the Congressional Black Caucus. He's from South Carolina, talking about, since we don't know how much money to give to the black folk, let's don't give them anything, because we don't know which black folk we got what to give to. I mean, how about those blacks that coming in from Africa and the Caribbean? Are they to be included? Should we give them money too? No, they're not included. It's native blacks only, the direct descendants of slaves in America. You just came in from Africa in the last 100 years or last 50 years, or from the Caribbean, you're not included. You are an African American, but black folk are Native American. They are not African Americans. Don't let people call you an African American. They call you a Native American. You don't get no letters or telegrams or Christmas presents or anything from Africa. It's only those people I'm talking about. They have no connection to Africa.
All right. Well, everybody who's watching, I want you to know who I'm talking to. I'm talking to Dr. Claud Anderson. Dr. Anderson is the author of the books Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, The Black History Reader, and Dirty Little Secrets 1 and 2. His website is powernomics.com. That's powernomics.com. I want to give a special thank you to Pamela Callahan. Thank you for your big donation. I saw you in there. Super Ariza 11. Thank you so much. Enots0407. Thank you for your support. Anybody else who wants to support the channel, we'd love to have you as a patron at intelligentblackpeople.com. That's intelligentblackpeople.com. We'll give you some free stuff in exchange for your support. That'll help us to grow the channel as much as possible. Everybody, please hit the thumbs up button. And I also want you guys to know that Dr. Anderson's website is powernomics.com, where you can get all 5 of his books plus a DVD for $99. So you're educating your kids at home, you're educating yourselves at home. I think books like Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, and The Black History Reader, and Dirty Little Secrets should be at the top of your list. So I highly recommend reading them. I really don't think you can read these books and not be a different person. It also fills in the blanks, so you can understand what's happening in the context of history, understanding history, the type of history they don't give you in school. And that was what I appreciated most about Black Labor, White Wealth. Now I want to ask you one last question, Dr. Anderson, before we bounce out of here. Joe Biden. So right now, with everything going on, a lot of the protests, so you got the pandemic, which a lot of people are saying, okay, but the pandemic happened, the economy crashed, jobs are lost, Black folks are dying from the corona and all that stuff. And they're saying, okay, and it's Trump's fault. Okay, fine. I don't really care. I'm not into that. But then you go into the protests, right? Which, stuff's getting burned down. A lot of people are upset about racism, stuff like that. And again, the Democrats are coming back saying, we got to get Trump out of office. This is going to fix everything. Let's get Trump out of office. I'm not satisfied with that, in the sense that not because I support Trump, I don't support anybody, but it seems to me that everything is aimed toward putting the Democrats back in power. When I say, okay, I don't like Trump as my leader, what do I do now? They say, oh, well, we got Joe Biden over here that you can vote for. Now, when I think about Joe Biden, I think about the same guy who passed one of the worst crime bills in the history of this country, and incarcerated more Black men than anybody in the history of the United States. When I think about Joe Biden, I see another old white guy that doesn't really like Black folks very much. What do you see when you see Joe Biden, and what do you see when you see these so-called choices that are being offered to Black people when it comes to the next election?
You don't have very much of a choice. You see, you look at both groups. Both groups are not about that much difference between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. Neither one can do a damn thing for Black folk. The Black folk have to understand. Let's go back. The Democrat, what makes up the Democratic Party? The Democratic Parties make up the weak, the meeks, and the freaks. Let me give it to you again. The Democratic Party is a party made up of weak people, meeks, and freaks. Okay, they all composite. Now that makeup was started in the 1950s, because earlier than that, the Democratic Party was the biggest racist party in the country. The Democratic Party, for 300-some years, okay, for 360 years, that was a party that was enslaving you. That's who was enslaving you, was the Democratic Party for 360 years. Then it said, and in that same time period, when it ended, after the slavery, you didn't get a damn thing. They turned around, the Democratic Party then re-enslaved you for another 100 years, from 1860s to the 1960s. That was the Democratic Party. And they enslaved you. And they gave you absolutely nothing. Now, what happened, what Black folk have to understand, is that the Democratic Party that they're so fond of, it was the old Democratic Party. The old Democratic Party is the same party that is now called the Republican Party, that is Trump's base. Trump's base are the redneck states in the South. All the states you see on the map during an election, those are Confederate states and redneck states. That is the old Democratic Party that has changed clothing and uniforms. Instead of being a Democratic Party, now they call themselves the Republican Party. The Republican Party, and they confuse Black folk by saying, we're the party of Lincoln. You are not the party of Lincoln. The party of Lincoln now would be the Democratic Party. They confuse the issues by switching uniforms. And so, but neither one has made any commitments to Black people. So right now, neither the new Democratic Party is the old Republican Party. And neither one is promised anything to Black folk. If they don't promise you anything and don't contract to do anything for you, they promise you nothing, contract nothing, that's exactly what you're going to get, is nothing. Now, what you should be asking is that we know the old Democratic Party, which in reality is the Republican Party, we know what their attitude is. They hate the hell out of Black folk. They could care less about Black folk. They got their own base. Their base are major corporations, the military, and the religious organization. That's their base. And the rednecks in the South. The rednecks in the South are the old terrorists. the Confederates in the South, the old Confederate states, or red states, those are the first terrorists in America. They've tried twice now to try to destroy the country. If they get a chance, they'll do it a third time to try to take it out. So you know what you're dealing with. When Trump talks about his base, those are the redneck states of the South. Those are the old terrorists in the South. Now the new ones, and when you talk about the Democratic Party today, which is really the old Republican Party, they are made up of just weak people that they pull together, all of them, pull them together and try to make a party, like taking a bunch of men and put them together. The weak, and the freaks, okay? And in there, black folk make up 38 to 40% of that. They are the base of the weak Republican Party. And black folk be saying that if you're gonna use us for voting, we're the weak, you don't promise us anything, we ain't voting for either one of you, either one of the parties. We'll create our own third world party. This in Black Labor in the Powernomics book. To create your own we go independent and create your own party. And then if you were to create your own party, pull out of the old Republican Party, pull out of the Democratic Party, and create a black party. And what would give it the power is that if you had your own community with your own economy operating in it, with your own business and wealth there, then you say we got our own party, and we will vote for whoever promises the most to deliver resources to black folk. We don't give a damn about the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. We're gonna have a black party. Now we're not gonna look at it. We don't need the white votes. Say we ain't running no damn candidates. We got a black party. We ain't running no damn candidates. But we will cast our votes as a block. We'll cast our vote as a block, which means that we have 46 million black folk in the country vote solidly for one candidate. We'll vote for a white candidate, a blue candidate, a green candidate, a pink candidate, or even one like Donald Trump, which is an orange agent candidate. We'll vote for whatever color he is that promise. They still like make up that orange. That's called it. That's the Antichrist color. Get rid of that paleness. But anyway, we'll vote for whoever promises the most to black folk. And when you and at that point, the candidates the parties would go crazy. They said, "Damn, so we got a block of 46 million votes out there floating around, and you can get them if you promise to do something for them." It'd be like chasing a beautiful woman. Every man would be looking for them. They would devote it. If you had a black party and voted as a solid block, and every party would say they would promise to give you something. Right now, neither party can give you a damn thing, because they take you for granted. They feel you're too stupid to vote as a block. They feel you ain't got enough damn sense to say we'll vote as a block only for benefits. We don't want to hear that stuff about Martin Luther King, about civil rights. We don't give a damn about civil rights. We don't give a damn about social integration. What we want is resources. Remember that. Black folk must go for resources, whatever party promises the resources, and deliver those resources and hold their feet to the fire. Don't let nobody trick you by saying, I'll get a black woman as my running mate. I don't give a shit about her.
You see where the DC mayor painted Black Lives Matter on the street, and everybody got excited when they painted the words Black Lives Matter on the street, and everybody thought that was a big deal, or they named something after a black person, and we get excited about that. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, Dr. Anderson, what you said about the Democratic Party being the party of the meek, or the weak, the meek, and the freaks. I want to ask everybody in here, give me a yes or no. Do you think black people are weak? Are you weak? Give me a yes or no. Are you weak? Give me a yes or no. Are you meek? Yes or no. And then the last one, yes or no. Are you a freak? If you're answering no to those questions, if you answer yes, then you shouldn't be here. But if you're answering no, then understand what that means. When you put yourself in that category with people who are unempowered, disabled, backward, or stupid, and just not very much able to do things for themselves, then you're pretty much it's like taking a healthy person and putting them in a wheelchair and feeding them baby food. That's why a lot of your men out here are babies in wheelchairs, because all they know how to do is cry. Oh, the white man did this to me. The white man did that to me. Well, if you want to know why me and Dr. Anderson are friends and why I respect and love this man so much, is because I instantly knew when I read his book and when I met him in person that he's a man. He's not weak. He's not meek. He ain't no freak. He's a man. He doesn't whine and cry about, you know, the white man don't like me. He called me names like that. That's not what you're supposed to do. You know, you need real men in your community, and the strong women that stand with us are important as well. I met his wife. His wife is not weak. She's not meek. She's not a freak. She's a strong black woman, a wonderful black woman, a brilliant black woman. You know, his wife met my fiance, and it was like I felt like they were the same person. You know, so my point is to say to you guys that you got to understand what you're tying yourself into. And I'm not telling you to be a Democrat or Republican or who to vote for. We don't get into that. That's as Dr. Anderson says, a horizontal issue. So we're not going to talk about that. But I just want you to define yourself so nobody else can define you. So no, you're not weak, you're not meek, you're not a freak. So Dr. Anderson, I think we pretty much covered everything. But I want to mention real quick your website, if that's okay, and so everybody knows powernomics.com. That's where you can check out Dr. Anderson's books. He's got a $99 library pack that you can check out that includes all 5 books plus a DVD. So go to powernomics.com, and that doesn't just support what they're doing over there, but it also supports your family. So you'll get 10 times more than your investment by putting those books in your library. Also, hit the thumbs up button before you go and stuff like that. And Dr. Anderson, one more thing I wanted to ask you about real quick is on August 28th, I saw where Al Sharpton used the opportunity of George Floyd's funeral to announce that he's going to do another March on Washington. And so I don't know if you saw that or not, but I'd like to get your take on that, Dr. Anderson. What do you think? Are you going to the march? You going to be in the front row? What are your thoughts on that?
But I'll go back in history and tell you again, because I love to talk about history. History is my base, and I spent my entire life being a forensic historian, and I love that. And see, history, never in history has a march ever changed a damn thing. See, marches didn't change anything. They got all marches there was set up a front for you to be a curtain so you can be misled. See, in the 1960s and 1964 with the civil rights movement, it was initially started off because it was fighting. This effort should have been for black folk, but when the civil rights movement met, they started talking an issue. See, President Johnson misled them, ran a game on them, and that's why he passed the 1964 called Opportunity Act in 1964. Right before they met for the 1965 civil rights laws. In 1964, he made and said, let's talk, make it for everybody. Let's make it for everybody. And when blacks came a year later so the civil rights movement, then they started, the Johnson movement then brought in all these whites, gays, midgets, handicapped, poor people, and flipped the switch and took the focus off of black folk. And started talking about, instead of talking about social justice and he should have been talking about economic justice. They started talking about social justice. Then instead of economic integration, they started talking about social integration. And black folk got tricked and bamboozled. And then said, well, what we'll give y'all is some voting. Now they know the damn vote wasn't worth a quarter. I'm gonna tell you straight up, it's what Dr. Anderson, you're talking about suppressing the black vote, and you tell black folk that. No, I'm not. I don't suppress the black vote. The Constitution suppress the black vote. Civil rights laws, corruption, suppress the black vote. What he says is, we'll give you all the right to vote. But Martin Luther King says, give us the right vote, we'll change the world. They gave you the right to vote, but you're outnumbered 10-1. Who cares what you vote for if you're outnumbered 10-1? It doesn't make any difference of what you vote for, but the only way that 10 point that vote will have any power behind it is if you have an economy, so that you can reward and punish people who don't do anything for you. You got power to put them in office, you got power to pull them out. If you're penniless, you have nothing. Nobody cares about you what you voted for. Right now, somebody voted for Obama. What did they get? They voted for Obama twice. What did they get? What did they get when they voted for Donald Trump the last time? What did they get? What did black folk gotten? You tell me, put right on a piece of paper, tell what they've gotten. Besides the screwing, there are 2 things in life, in politics you get. Got 2 groups of people, they're called screwers and screwees. Black folk always wind up being the screwee. And black folk have been the screwees so long, and whites have been the screwers, and now you got a love affair going between them. Black folk got used to screwing, so now between the Democratic Party, to answer your question earlier about the difference in the party, Democrats and Republicans, everybody in both groups have been screwing black folks so long, black folks just love the screwing. They got used to it, doesn't bother them.
Mm.
And see, okay, but me, I said, and I ran campaigns that said, now anybody in your group says, well, why would Dr. Anderson say that? I say that because I'm the only black that's ever been a campaign manager for 2 damn presidents. I'm the only one that ran campaigns for governors, for presidents, for attorney generals, for attorneys, state attorneys, everything else, for legislators. I ran the damn campaigns. I didn't just participate in the campaign. I'm the only black I know of that's been at the highest levels of government, the federal government, the state government, the city government. I'm the only one that's been at the tops of everything for industry and headed trade missions around the world. I'm the only one that's been a chairman for economic development for governors. I'm the only one that was assistant secretary, first black assistant secretary in commerce. I'm the only one that went into the third world nations, Latin America, and dealt with the mafia and everything else to try to get opportunities for blacks, Africa, Germany, France, England. I headed up the trade missions for them. So I got the authority to say what I'm saying. And if people don't like it, I don't give a damn. One way or the other. I don't have to get along with anybody. I don't kiss nobody's posterior to make them walk a little faster. Okay? So that's why I'm telling you all these things. I love black folk and I'm gonna fight for black folk. If they don't like it, I don't care. Now they should buy those books, and get them, I guess, because they be loaded up over there on books, I guess, by the 17th, which is about Tuesday, Wednesday next week. Those library packs. Tell them to get those library packs and start reading it, and quit letting people trick you and make you the willingness ass all the time. It hurts my feeling to have people use black folk as a willingness ass, have them carrying the heaviest load out front, walking down the street waving flags and acting silly, like they're gonna get something. Just because now you got a big crowd behind you, you got black, white, black, Indians, and Hispanics behind you. Ain't gonna work like that. You have no power and resources. And the last thing about it is, Dr. Anderson, aren't the conditions in this country better for black folk than used to be? Yes. But guess what? There's a ranking order, a vertical order again, like this, a vertical order, and it's go white, yellow, brown, black. Blacks are on the bottom. You're on the bottom. You're on the bottom in wealth. You're on the bottom in power. You're on the bottom with resources. You're on the bottom with everything. But you're on a ladder. That's a vertical ladder. Now they ask you, were things bad during slavery? You say yes. They say, but things are better now. I think yes. You know why? Because the ladder went up. Everybody went up. Everybody living better. But black folk are still under the bottom. And that's why they are permanent underclass. Blacks are a permanent underclass, the only permanent underclass. Everybody's in this country, including Indians, get more resources, power and resources than the government except black folk. I fight for black folk. I love black folk, even though half of them might not be worth a damn, but I still love them and fight for them. And I'm not gonna bite my tongue and fight for them, Dr. Watkins. And I love you. I know we way past your time.
That's okay. Well, we love you too. Everybody in the chat, please tell Dr. Anderson you love him. Let him know how much you appreciate him, because I think it's important that we build and support and create our own heroes, our own movie stars, our own millionaires and billionaires, our own celebrities, and our own teachers. So Dr. Anderson, it doesn't matter what system, what the white supremacist system says about people like you. We know that every HBCU should have their students reading Powernomics. We know that your book should be required reading everywhere, but it's okay because your book is required reading in this system, in this space. And the millions of people that we reach, they consider your knowledge to be required knowledge. And that's something that I believe, to the core of my heart. And I wouldn't say it if I didn't believe it. And also, in fact, Andrea Downing, who just made a donation, thank you, Andrea, she mentioned that she just had her 13-year-old son read through Dirty Little Secrets. And I think that's something every parent needs to do. Get your children prepared for battle. Get them prepared for war. If you want to go to the march on Washington and all that, I'm not going to judge you for that. I'm not, we gave you our honest opinion, but we're not judging you for how you want to solve the problem. We just want you to have the tools to solve the problem right in the way that works for your family. And so let's move the needle. Let's do the right thing. One last time, I'll give you guys Dr. Anderson's website. It's powernomics.com. All his books are there. You can get all 5 books in the DVD in the library pack for $99, powernomics.com. Second of all, please hit the thumbs up button. Please share this video. Everybody in here, give me a commitment right now that you'll take this link and you will share it on your social media, because we got a lot of folks out here that we're trying to reach, we're trying to connect to. So please give me a commitment in the chat right now that you're just going to take the link and share it on your social media. You are our distribution system. So I want everybody to be empowered. No spectators in the building, no people sitting on the sidelines. Everybody's a soldier. Everybody's going to help us win this battle, because I believe if we work together, we can't be defeated. So if you could just do that for us, we'd appreciate it. What's the Patreon page? The Patreon page is intelligentblackpeople.com. That's intelligentblackpeople.com. So if you'd like to become a supporter, you can go there as well. But even if you don't want to do that, just share the link. Visit Powernomics. Let's support our institutions. I believe we can do that. And we'll support you as well. Whatever you give to us, we'll give you 10 times more back. And we're going to be here for you and be consistent. So we love you. Thank you again, Dr. Anderson. I appreciate all your time.
Let me close out by saying also that I do respect and appreciate those blacks who are participating out there, in the streets with the Black Lives Matter, and I love the fact that they're stepping up and looking strong and trying to be strong and represent our people. That they use the word black, B-L-A-C-K. I'm proud of them doing that. They didn't say African American. They didn't say poor people. They didn't say multicultural. They didn't say people of color. They said black, and I'm proud of them. And for what they're doing in the streets right now across the country and around the world. But also, I want to mention, I'm also proud of those names I gave you, those celebrities for stepping up, coming out from off the stage. And that's people who I love and respect. They're very pro-black, like Wesley Snipes, like Laura Hill.
You mentioned Charlemagne, Tiffany Haddish, Lauryn Hill. What's another name? You mentioned Usher and Diddy.
Okay, Usher, no, yeah. See, no Diddy. See, I'm proud of all of them for coming out, saying that we understand what you're doing in Powernomics, and we respect you for it, and we're proud and consider us to be, part of your group. And that's a good group. That's a good group of celebrities. But the rest of them, like the athletes, not one has ever called and said anything.
Well, I think they need to do more. I believe they need to do more than call. I think they need to start writing checks. I really believe that, because I've written checks, because I just believe that if I say I support you, that's one thing, but talk is cheap. I think resources is what's called for. So to me, if any celebrity that can run around bragging about how they bought a $100,000 European car, or a rapper that brags about a $50,000 chain, we need to start shutting that down and saying, I need you to brag about a $50,000 donation you made to the Harvest Institute or to the Powernomics Corporation, so that we can move forward with our agenda. I'm tired of these days where we got all these celebrities running around bragging about how much money they got, and all you're doing is bragging about how much money you're giving to white folks. That should be shut down. I mean, when you guys see that on social media, I think you need to call it out. And I think the world's becoming smarter. And somebody asked what hashtag to use for this video. The two hashtags you can use, one is Powernomics, and also the other one is B1, B and the number one. B1 means that we are Black first. Black first is hashtag B1. Also, it means that we must become one. We must be one in order for us to be successful. So I want you to hashtag B1, hashtag Powernomics. So thank you very much, Dr. Anderson. I look forward to talking to you next week. Oh, go ahead.
One last thing is that my wife just slipped the book in front of my face, called the Black History Reader, and Appendix A in here. What it says in here again, they got a partial appendix on me someplace in here on my biography. So I want to ask what I've been doing. You pick up some of the things. That's not all the things. There's some of the things I was involved in for Black folk that was sort of would flash back on me and put me in a dangerous situation, things I did from across the country, particularly in the South. So I don't get too far into those. But most of the things in here, if you look at pages about what Claud Anderson has done, or Blacks, where does it start? Appendix A, page, what is it, 280?
I'm looking at page 3. I don't think I've ever seen a picture of you this young anywhere.
Which one now?
It looks like you got some military. Look, when you were in the Marines.
Oh yeah. Oh, that started on 280. Yeah. Let's see where it was. Now, which one do you ask? The pictures?
Yeah, 283. I didn't know about your appendix. I just saw those pictures. I've never seen those pictures of you before. That's great.
Yeah. Well, see, I was in the Marine Air Wing, and the Marine Air Wing. Those are photos from an attack squadron there. And here I'm on an AD. That's a Douglas aircraft Sky Raider 2 or 3 that we had in Korea. This is me with a parachute harness, getting ready to board down at the bottom, and the top is upside out in front of my squadron that time, the Marine Attack Squadron, called the they were called the Devil Cats at that time, Devil Cats, and they were one of the finest outfit they had in the war. And okay.
Wow. Well, you know what? I think people should see this picture of you. I love this old picture of you, man. I don't think I've ever seen that. I saw some older pictures at your house, but I've never seen this particular one.
Which one is that? The one on the right, low at the bottom?
Just all three of them.
Yeah, but I thought you had some other photos in there where me. I thought you saw the one where I'm with two Indian chiefs in there.
Well, you know what? Well, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the pictures up on my Instagram. Everybody, if you're not following me on Instagram, go to the Real Boyce Watkins, and you can see the pictures. I'm gonna put them up, and so people can see. Because I think it lets people see another side of you. You know, when you were younger and raising even more hell than you raise right now.
When you see that photo right there on page 174.
Let me see. 174.
That's me under the Ku Klux Klan sign, and in Fayetteville, and tell them out there, and I'm very young there. I'm looking at it and saying, this is a bunch of crap. Okay.
Oh wow, that was in what year was that?
So I don't even remember anymore, because it must have been in the I don't even remember now. But I had the photo left over from that, and probably if you look through here also, you'll see a picture of me with the Seminole and the Miccosukee Indian chiefs, where we're meeting together. You'll see that, and I'm not sure which one is in here. Did you see that one in there?
No, I didn't see that one.
Okay, I'm with two Indian chiefs. They don't look like Indian chiefs, but those are two Indian chiefs that and Claude, if I'm sitting talking to them, that's the youngest picture I got. You can remember that one.
Wow. Well, I'm yeah. This if I can get the picture to rotate, I'm gonna put this one up on my Instagram. I can't get the damn thing to rotate. But yeah, you guys just check my Instagram in about 20 or 30 minutes. The Real Boyce Watkins, and you guys can see the picture. I just got to figure out what kind of the right kind of photo editor to have on my phone. But anyway, Dr. Anderson, I'm gonna let you go on and get on with your day. I appreciate your time. It was really good to see you, and thank you for everything.
Well, thank you again, and I, as usual, I always enjoy you. And I'm a little slow today in my speech, and because I've been taking medication. It slows me down. It makes me slur some of my words and things. So normally I wouldn't be in front of a camera, but I'm still trying to recover from the 2 or 3 afflictions that I had. And so I'm a little slow and slurred, and my mind is not as quick as it used to be. I can't recall some of the things that I want to say to you today. So I apologize for those 3 things. Okay.
Oh, you know what? I tell you what, Dr. Anderson, you even when you are not 100%, you're still about 150% of the smartest people we know. So tell Dr. Anderson that it is okay and that he did a great job today. Everybody, please confirm that in the chat, because I don't want you to ever think that you're not delivering for us. And I know you give 100%. So thank you very much. And by the way, everybody, I just put that picture that I told you guys about on my Instagram. So go to the Real Boyce Watkins. You guys can check it out.
I'm not sure what picture you put up there, what it looks like. You say I keep saying I'm that young.
Yeah, it's a picture of you. You got on military gear, and then there's another one where you are at the military base. It's on page 2, I think 223.
Well, the ones that where you, yeah, one of them I may have been I may have been Pensacola. I'm a Marine base, air base down in Pensacola, Florida. So
yeah, it looks like page 283. That's the picture I got.
What now?
283.
And yeah, I'm not sure what it is, but anyway, you tell me see me when I'm young. That's they see when there's 2 Indians. Those are 2. That's the Miccosukee and the Seminole chiefs that I'm sitting with, talking to in the photos, and it's in one of those pages. Okay.
All
and
right.
that's why I got these Indian lawsuits right now in the courts fighting for black folk. I've been fighting for black folk. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I'm still in the court fighting for black folk for reparations. The rest of people talk about reparations. I've been fighting for reparations in the court, spending money now for years, and one of them was like in Chicago where we won with a declaration there where they have to declare whether or not a business have to declare whether or not they ever profit from slavery and all that kind of stuff. So I still fight, but I spend my money for blacks, but not one person's ever given, maybe one or two people have given something money to the Powernomics Corporation. So I don't get paid a salary, and so they don't support me worth a damn. So, but I get by. I enjoy. So when I leave this world, I say I did the best I could. God sent me here to fight for black folk. I've done the best I could. And there are some people that might not like it, might not like me. I said, tough Shashinsky. That's for Russian. Ask them to go get that interpreted in Russian, okay?
All right.
Tough Shashinsky means?
I assume it means tough shit.
Yeah, oh, that's it. That's what it means. Russian. But I didn't say it in the media, but that's what it means. That's exactly. Tough Shashinsky.
Right. All right. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Anderson, and everybody who's watching. Please give Dr. Anderson a digital thank you, and a digital round of applause. And one more time, his website is powernomics.com. The hashtags for this video are hashtag B1B and the number 1, or hashtag Powernomics. Also, please share this to your page. And last but not least, if you haven't learned to buy your first share of stock yet and learn to become an investor, you can get started for free at firstshareofstock.com. That's firstshareofstock.com. So let's start investing. Let's start building. And have a good day, everybody. Thanks a lot, Dr. Anderson. I'll see you next
buddy.
All right, buddy. Take care. You too. Bye-bye now.
All right, bye-bye.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boy's TV.